what's been your experience with that, with hunting and with talking to people about it and introducing them to hunting or
Yeah.
starting that conversation?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think hunting got like a bad reputation, and had a bad voice for a while. Um, and, I think there were a lot of bandits probably out there, and there probably still are, who are, aren't going by the rules and regulations and aren't in it for, the respect. But I know damn well a good percentage of them are, and some of the best people I know, especially when it comes to taking care of the planet and having respect for animals and just being overall humble, kind, beautiful people, tend to be, in my opinion, a lot of them are hunter and fishermen and just outdoorsmen. It's a religion for a lot of people, and a church, and I can relate to that. Uh, and then being able to tie it into food. I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, it's ancient. It's way more embedded in it than we want. And unless you're growing your own almonds and milking them somewhere, and I don't know, growing tomatoes and walking around your tiptoes and not crushing any ants, or what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
where do we stop? You know what I mean? And like, so I don't know. And like for me, there's a major contradiction in it, because like I'm gonna jump around a little bit, sorry. But
Yeah.
like, when did we start? Like, who gave okay, like why do we just how come no one gives a shit about plants? You can eat the shit out of them. That life in this universe doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, you can chomp away on anything as long as it's. And I understand there's different, they take different nervous systems and what we deem intelligent life forces in life, but like, as we're finding out, in our, big cocky human brains, is that plants and fungus and fish and other species are super intelligent, and like, I'm okay with eating all of them, but like, you gotta, because that's just, there isn't a better system yet, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, we haven't figured, I don't know. And I think at the end of the day, no one wants factory farming except for the prick doing it and making money. You know what I mean? Like, so like, people, and the responses I've gotten from being able to do some hunting, like pheasant hunting and wild boar in Hawaii and fishing, is like, it's a respect, and it's just being transparent. Like, this is, if you're going to the supermarket and you're getting your ribeye or your salmon fillet from the Faroe Islands or whatever, you're just not seeing come on, like, it's all, it's just a little clean, it's in, no face anymore, no feathers, no nothing. This is happening on a massive scale. We 400 million pigs a year or whatever, fact check that number, but like, it's massive. So like, being able to harvest an animal, whether you're farming it yourself, and just being the accountability for what's going into it, because as we found out, the industrialization of the food system certainly had some flaws, and not the best interest for our health. It seems in some of the aspects, is hunting going to solve world hunger? No, obviously not. But good practicing and localization of it. COVID showed that too, how fragile that big monopolized systems are. And cyber attacks, like, things need to get a little more smaller and less monopolized in certain aspects when it comes to food, right? And that also will be able to reduce the environmental impact and overall health, I believe. And you go into the supermarket and look at some of the produce and the meat, and like, I'm fortunate, don't get me wrong, that it's an option, and financially is another thing. Good food's expensive, especially when you're buying it at a supermarket. So there's a lot of problems with it, but like, I guess to wrap that question up in a way, like, yeah, I think just no one, the way it's been perceived is just, again, no one wants the bad practice. Everyone's sick of it. Let's just figure a better way out. There seems like a lot of people who are smarter at it and better at it than me that certainly are doing it. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's a big problem. Huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, COVID did open a few people's eyes for sure into how fragile society can actually be, and most of the world obviously deals with that. Here we're
Yeah.
insulated from a lot of that, worrying about the next meal, malaria, like all these things that most of the rest of the world has to worry about. We're fairly insulated in this country, and also makes you
Yeah.
part of the process.
People dying of starvation. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, in the world, every year, and like, how much we waste? What, it's like 40 or something percent of all food or something. It's like, it's
Yeah,
wild. It's
it's
just,
insane. Yeah, there was, what was it? A book, or like 3 or 4 years ago, a book or a video, movie, I forget what it was, but just talking about how much waste there is. And that's the other part about hunting. Like, when we put an elk on the table out there, there's nothing's wasted because we
Right.
know where it came from and how much work went in. And that's the other part of it. Once you do it, I think once you're out there and you're doing it and you're bringing that food back and you're processing it and then you're cooking it, you're doing all those things, you're not wasting any of it. And then for me, it is shocked just actually how inexpensive some things are at the supermarket, like knowing how much went in to what we just did with a mule deer
Right.
or an elk or a moose or whatever it
Yeah.
might be, and then seeing, 199 or, 5.99. Amazing that it's for me anyway. I'm like, how you had to raise that thing, you had to do all this, you had to transport it, you had to put it on a shelf, you're paying all these people at each one of those stages to get it there. I'm always like, wow, why is this only $5? I mean, it's
Because
crazy
they,
just how much goes into
yeah,
making that happen.
that's because they process it like a grain. It's just it's a numbers thing, and it's so scaled that they can sell you this big giant weird pork loin that's as white as a piece of paper when you cook it and has you know almost no fat on it. It's just like this big weird, like that's not what a pig looks like. Like I've seen some really
Mm.
healthy pigs, whether wild or farmed, and like man, that sometimes it can look like steak. Like I can get nice and red and pink and beautiful fat on it. So I mean, yeah, once you, I mean, I've once you see the light, I can't go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like once I'm being able to, and where I live is great, man. I mean, I shot 2 deer this year, and not even hunting that aggressively, and a bunch of geese and some, and we got some pheasant and some tuna. We go fishing right here and spear fishing and sea bass, and being able to just process that with some friends, and then being able to grow vegetables and stuff. I mean, I just moved up here, but in the next couple of years, man, I want to get this place where we could be, you know, providing a lot of the food that we need through, just growing, we get great sun and soil. Like it'd be crazy not to. Good water. And then having the ocean and the land, it's just such a, it reminds me of like friends in Hawaii, right? They just have that like ocean and land that they can, really get dialed in and provide off of.